Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Charleston, and welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and when we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And today we got a pretty interesting show for you guys that we definitely want you guys to stick around for. But before we get into it, please make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel here. Now, today we're still reacting to this devastating news coming out of the Clippers camp after Paul George injured himself. Coming down from a rebound yesterday in a close loss, a 100-101 loss to the Oklahoma City Thunder. You saw him land. His knee kind of buckled, and it's now being called a extended knee. Obviously, we're waiting to see what the MRI results are going to say after he gets that today, which is this Wednesday, obviously, depending on when you see this particular show here. And while the news came out, I was just kind of still doing research this morning. I was kind of waiting for news to begin to cascade in terms of other platforms talking about this particular injury. And then I came across a clip here from ESPN, First Take, featuring JJ Redick, Stephen A. Smith, and Chris Mad Dog Russo. And I think they started off their show today with this news, which is some pretty big news, given the fact that the Clippers were one of the contenders to come out of the Western Conference this season. And when it came time for the panel to weigh in on what they think the Clippers' chances are moving forward if Paul George is going to be out, they made some very, very bold proclamations about the Clippers' future, or at least their playoff chances. But before we get into their comments, this video is brought to you by our sponsor, Aura, who's also the official sponsor of the T-Wolves. Do you know what the fastest growing crime in America is today? It's identity theft. Imagine trying to log into your email only to see that your password has been changed. Then you start getting weird notifications from your bank and credit cards, only to find out that all of your personal and sensitive information has been totally compromised. If you think it can happen to you and your family, just know that in 2020, over 49 million Americans were victims to identity theft, costing them a combined $56 billion. That is why we are excited to partner with Aura, who's the sponsor of this video. Aura is the #1 identity theft and financial fraud protection. Aura monitors the dark web and alerts you if any of your passwords and accounts have been breached. And funny enough, after using Aura, I discovered some of my credentials were floating around in the dark web, and the app showed me exactly when and where the breach happened. In addition, Aura allows you to set spending alerts, and they'll notify you of any suspicious transactions. Aura is 4 times faster than any of its competitors in alerting you if someone is trying to open a credit card or obtain a loan using your name. And remember this, every 14 seconds, someone becomes a victim of identity fraud. Don't let it happen to you. Now click the link in the description and try Aura for free for 2 weeks and see if any of you or your family's personal information has been compromised. Start your free trial at aura.com/dreamerspro. And when you try Aura, by using the link in the description below, also know that you're supporting this channel. Thank you. So what we want to do is want to play exactly what these gentlemen had to say here at the panel. And then we're going to come back and react to it. Take a listen to their comments.
Let me just say one thing real quick. This is a very unfortunate injury at a very unfortunate time, because I had the Clippers along with the Denver Nuggets and the Phoenix Suns, when healthy, as the Tier 1 Western Conference contenders. I thought this team, particularly with the way Kawhi has been playing, the amount of minutes that he's been playing, this looked like a team that could make a deep playoff run. Now, without knowing the extent of this injury, the reality is he's probably going to be out at least a few weeks. It looked like a hyperextension at best. If that happens, he's missing the rest of the regular season. And if you look at the standings right now, they've got 35 losses, and you've got 2 teams, the Lakers and the Pelicans, sitting at 11 and 12 with 37 losses. The reality is the Clippers could fall out of the play-in. That's how far they could fall. You look at their remaining schedule. They've still got another game against Oklahoma City, who they lost to last night. They've got 2 games against the Pelicans, who are sitting in that 12 spot. They've got 2 games at Memphis, who's trying to lock up the 2 seed. And they've got another game against the Lakers, who are trying to get into the play-in game. The only game they have left on their schedule against a team that's really not going to be playing for anything is the second to last game against Portland. So every single night, this team is going to be tested. And it's not just Paul George's injury. Norman Powell, who's their 3rd leading scorer this season, he's been out since March 2nd with a shoulder injury. The team announced Sunday he'd be reevaluated. They'd update his injury on Sunday. He's been out as well. This team, for all the talk about depth, all of a sudden, they look pretty thin, and I'm scared that they are headed for a season which they don't participate at all in the postseason.
I am with him 100%. I think JJ's very hard. Listen, this Western Conference is crazy to begin with because everybody's got something wrong with them. Who knows on Memphis? Denver hasn't played well recently. The Lakers, we all know they've struggled here. You know, Oklahoma City's too young. I mean, Phoenix, Durant's not playing. So there's a lot of issues for all these teams. But without Paul George, they're going to make the playoffs in some capacity. They're playing at least in a play-in. I think we all agree with that. But for them to sit there and win a play-in, then go sit there and go play a 1 or a 2 seed, win that series, win another series, that's asking too much. You can't be that much in the depths. So I'll let you be the expert and tell me if they can get through a round without George. But without him for an extended period of time, they are not going to win the Western Conference. That's all there is to it.
That's fair.
You know what? I appreciate, the eloquence, of JJ Redick and Mad Dog Russo. It's very, very touching, I must say. Can we get to the point? The season is over for the Los Angeles Clippers if they don't have Paul George.
So you heard what JJ Redick, Stephen A. Smith, and Chris Mad Dog Russo had to say. They said that it's pretty much a done deal. I'm not sure if I'm ready to just summarily dismiss the Clippers just yet for a few reasons. Number one, for what I saw Kawhi Leonard pull off with the Toronto Raptors back in 2019. Had kind of a similar roster, although that team was a defensive-minded team. But they had a lot of unproven guys on the roster. Kawhi really was the guy that was proven. They had, of course, Kyle Lowry, Marc Gasol, Serge Ibaka, Fred VanVleet, Pascal Siakam, who had just won Improved Player of the Year. But those guys had never won a championship, and those guys had never been to an NBA Finals. In fact, Kyle Lowry was part of the LeBron Cavaliers getting swept, I think the year prior when they ended up firing their head coach. When Masai Ujiri ended up firing their head coach and promoting Nick Nurse. And I saw the run that Kawhi Leonard was able to go on in that playoffs when he led the entire playoffs in points, rebounds, I think in steals, the entire playoffs. And he had the third most points in a playoff run since Michael Jordan and LeBron James. So Kawhi Leonard definitely took his play to another level. Looking at this particular Clippers team here, they still have a lot of depth. They have players like Terrence Mann. They do have Russell Westbrook. They do have Marc Gasol. They do have Nicholas Batum. You have certain players like Norman Powell, who's been injured. We have to see what's going to happen with him when he comes back. You still have Eric Gordon. So the Clippers still do have, you have Plumlee, you have Ivica Zubac, you have others. So they still have pieces. They still have arguably the best head coach in all of basketball. The Toronto Raptors made it to the finals, and people look at the Western Conference standings and you're like, well, you have Denver, you have the Phoenix Suns, you have the Grizzlies, you have all of these teams, the Golden State Warriors. And I think when people do this, what they end up usually doing is forgetting that the Clippers don't have to face all of these teams. For the Clippers to make it to the finals, they only have to beat 3 of them. That's it. Right. So it's really going to come down to seeding. Now, some people are going to say that they may fall out of playoff contention, like the gentleman said there. I don't think that's going to be the case. I don't see them just falling out completely. I don't see that happening unless they start doing stupid things like load managing Kawhi Leonard all the way down to the finish line. But I don't see that happening. If they make it in, I think it'll be I think they'll have some tough matchups, but I've seen Kawhi play some tough teams like the Philadelphia 76ers with Jimmy Butler, Ben Simmons, and Joel Embiid. I saw him play against Giannis's teams. Obviously, those teams got better over time. But I'm not ready to just dismiss the Clippers just yet. I'm not ready to do that. I think that these guys I think Kawhi Leonard can definitely make a stand if he's healthy. And I think they should be able to win at least 1 or 2 playoff series. Obviously, some people may disagree with me. Maybe some people are thinking I'm rating Kawhi a little bit too high, but I just have that level of confidence in his game when he's healthy in the playoffs. He's a different player. Different player totally. So these are my thoughts and opinions. Whatever you guys think, leave your thoughts in the comment section. Catch you on the next show.